This is Matthew Cratter from Trady University, and today I want to talk about the long-awaited executive order on crypto from President Joe Biden. This was just issued last night. At least a summary, a fact sheet was issued by the White House that we're going to talk to. But the most important part of this story is actually Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's response to it, which was leaked last night or inadvertently posted on the Treasury website. Fortunately, there's a copy of it available on the Wayback Machine, which I'm going to be taking a look at. This was taken off the official website the last time I checked. But this is her statement and her summary. And as someone who seems to know what's going on, at least a lot more than the president, this is very significant because Janet Yellen takes a very conciliatory tone, I would say, towards crypto, at least for now. And this is one reason we're seeing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies rallying so hard this morning. So Yellen, in summarizing Biden's executive order, said there's going to be a coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy. This approach will support responsible innovation. So in many ways, this is very similar to the internet, giving it space to grow before regulating it too heavily. A lot of people are pointing out this term, responsible innovation, that could result in substantial benefits for everybody, blah, blah, blah. And then another quote from Janet Yellen's statement: it will also address risks related to illicit finance, protecting consumers and investors, and preventing threats to the financial system and broader economy. At the end of Yellen's statement, this really jumped out at me as an interesting statement. Treasury will work to promote a fairer, more inclusive, and more efficient financial system. And as part of this, it's amazing, Janet Yellen has actually agreed to no longer get paid millions of dollars for being an elite who gets to stand next to the money printer. Actually, that was not in her statement. I think Janet Yellen, as a former central banker, now Treasury Secretary, she likes the system. She likes standing next to the money printer. So she's less interested in an inclusive, fair system. It's much more fun when you can just give a speech and make millions of dollars. If you're finding this video helpful so far, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Maybe share this video with a few friends as well. Treasury will work to promote this more fair and inclusive system. I don't know if this still includes freezing assets whenever you're mad at someone, as the U.S. froze Afghanistan central bank assets. This is something we haven't really talked about, but this was quite significant. Treasury will work to promote a fairer, more inclusive, and more efficient financial system. And I wonder if this means no more bailouts for the banks and no more bailouts, especially for people like Warren Buffett. This is the implication, of course. And it's very interesting when Janet Yellen is so worried about Bitcoin and what it's going to do. We have this legacy system that could be, really the complete opposite of inclusive and fair, and she knows it. So a lot of this is just talk. If she really was worried about a fair, more inclusive, and efficient financial system, for example, she would encourage the banking regulators to really crack down on U.S. banks and not say, as U.S. banks have been saying, that all the fraud on Zelle is not their problem. If we take a look at the talking points from Biden's executive order, at least the fact sheet that the White House has put out, we have basically 6 points. The executive order is going to try to protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses. Probably will protect cantillionaires more than anything else. Will protect U.S. and global financial stability. Obviously, they're going to be looking into stable coins. This is really a focus and has been a focus. Mitigate illicit finance. Of course, most illicit finance happens with the U.S. dollar, and they don't seem to care about banks laundering money. Promote U.S. leadership in technology and economic competitiveness. Now, this is going to be difficult, especially because the U.S. is having trouble posting articles on its website and not posting them too soon, as Janet Yellen did on the Treasury website. But I do hold out the hope that our politicians will eventually be able to use basic website content management systems, and even possibly learning how to use email without storing it on a private server, but that might be too much to ask for. Finally, Biden's last point in this fact sheet: promote equitable access to safe and affordable financial services. And this sounds a lot like Bitcoin to me. How about a completely fair, open, inclusive system that's decentralized, open source, not run by an oligarch like Vitalik Buterin or Charles Hoskinson or one of these other scammers, something that's decentralized, open source, permissionless monetary network, not something like the US dollar where they can just freeze your assets whenever they want. And so it's interesting, these talking points are always the talking points, but we know that the country is still run by central bankers. I think we can relax a little bit today because this executive order, as we can see, especially from Yellen's summary of it, is a much less harsh than the market was expecting. But I think the most interesting part of this, if we scroll down, the final point in the fact sheet from the White House is the saying that we're going to explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, a CBDC. When I started talking about these 2 years ago, a lot of people said that I was a conspiracy theorist, that this would never happen. Obviously, this has become widely accepted. China has a CBDC, and they're many years ahead of the U.S. as the ultimate surveillance and spy state. But a CBDC is definitely coming to the U.S., and this is part of the executive order saying they're going to place urgency on research and development of a CBDC. So FedCoin is definitely coming. Fortunately, U.S. government can't even figure out how to run and update a website properly. So we do have time. China's very far ahead of us in this, like in many other things. But in this case, being ahead of us on a spy coin is not really something to be very jealous of unless you're a central bank or a politician who wants to have this spy coin sooner rather than later, so you can use it to control the population. So central bank digital currency, CBDC, you can call it FedCoin. It's very different from the digital dollar that we have now, the digital dollar that you use on your apps and your banking app and Zelle, etc. This would be something on a blockchain, and everything would be much more transparent and controlled by the Fed and the U.S. Treasury. CBDCs, as I've said, are spy coins. They allow governments to view every transaction that you make. And so as such, they're not like regular physical cash where there is some anonymity. CBDCs are spy coins. The government can use it to track you, to censor you, to target you, and ultimately to just turn off your money and freeze your money if you do something that it doesn't like. I imagine that these roll out eventually in a fairly benevolent way, and then the pressure is ratcheted up as the coin becomes much more politicized and is used to attack people that the government doesn't like for whatever reason. And this could be attacking you on the left or attacking you on the right. This is the problem with not having a neutral form of money. Really, no one is safe because you never know who's going to come to power next. I've heard a lot of people in my comment section say CBDCs put Bitcoin out of business and that somehow Bitcoin is a way of introducing CBDCs. This is absolutely ridiculous. CBDCs, rather than putting Bitcoin out of business, they actually emphasize one of the best use cases for Bitcoin, and they really do make the case for owning Bitcoin. Do you want to live inside the central banker's digital money prison, where everything you do, all the money you earn, how you earn it, how you spend it, is all monitored by the IRS and the Fed and people like Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen? Do you want to be trapped inside this digital money prison, or do you want to have freedom money like Bitcoin? Eventually, cash is going to go away. Physical cash is going to go away. We've already seen it really taken out of the system to some extent as part of the last 2 years and what's happened. People worried about germs or whatever on their dollar bills, or the government pretending that that's what they're worried about, but using it as a way of shutting down one of the last anonymous methods of transferring value, which is physical cash. And so CBDCs really do make the case for Bitcoin. Another question I got a good question from Mark Miseligot. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. McKelligot probably in my comments yesterday. And his question was, so if your paycheck is in a CBDC, a central bank digital currency or FedCoin, and the government says you cannot buy Bitcoin with CBDCs, how can you acquire Bitcoin? This is actually easier than it sounds. Simple. You just provide goods and services to someone and ask to be paid in Bitcoin in an anonymous way. No one can stop you from being paid in Bitcoin. The other way of doing it is at some point you could take your CBDC, your FedCoin, and give it to someone, and they give you some Bitcoin. You don't have to go to Coinbase or Gemini or one of these services if they get shut down and they stop allowing you to trade CBDCs for cryptocurrency. like Bitcoin, you can do it in a decentralized way. Better yet, get some Bitcoin today while you still can, while this is relatively easy, while Janet Yellen is in a good mood and is sort of going along with all of this. It's very important before the really tough times happen. And the tough times can happen overnight. We saw how the Russia-Ukraine thing really escalated quite quickly over a series of days. We saw what Justin Trudeau did to the protesters and truckers. These things can come like a thief in the night when you least expect it. So we can bask in the warmth of Janet Yellen's message today and be grateful that it wasn't harsher. But you can be sure that the U.S. government's going to take off its gloves when things get worse. And the mask is going to come off, the gloves are going to come off, and we could see overnight moves such as freezing your Bitcoin if you hold it on an exchange, etc. So it's very important not to hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. There's no saying that there's going to be a lot of warning to get your coins off. We saw what happened to a lot of people in Russia, where assets and coins got frozen very quickly. And if you're holding your Bitcoin on an exchange, you don't control the private keys. So it's really no better than paper Bitcoin or a Bitcoin IOU. So get some Bitcoin today while you still can. Learn how to hold it on a hardware wallet. Better yet, learn how to buy Bitcoin anonymously. Learn how to use various best privacy practices like CoinJoin to preserve your privacy so you're ready when the tough times come. And this is something I can't cover on YouTube for obvious reasons, but I do cover in my Bitcoin course at Trade University, my premium course, where I teach you how to buy Bitcoin anonymously. I have 4 lectures on that, how to run your own node, how to sync your wallet with your node, and then especially how to, most recently, I have 3 lectures on CoinJoin, UTXOs, chain surveillance, CoinJoin, and how to CoinJoin your Bitcoin on a desktop computer. So check those out. If you've already watched a lot of my YouTube videos and you really want to take your education to the next level, check these out. I'll stick a link in the description notes below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.